Welcome back to our holiday special, first annual, first of many, hopefully, right, guys? We're not going anywhere. Guys, Dave Dombrowski's alive. He's well. Phillies made some moves this week, so we have a lot to talk about, and we will talk about that. But we did mention this is a holiday special, so men of our word here. Slim, I'm looking at you. Let's start it off with our top 3 Christmas movies. What do you got for me, Slim?
So number 3, I'm taking it back to the 70s. And
wow.
A short animated one, A Year Without a Christmas. Not to be confused, but Santa Claus is Coming to Town. The Year Without the Christmas, you might know, is the one with the Heatmeister and Mr. Freemeister.
Okay. Yeah.
Number 2, I'm going to have to go with National Lampoon, Christmas Vacation.
Classic.
That's one once a year. I got to put it on, have maybe a stiff drink and just laugh my butt off. And then another one's another comedy, but this one's one that came out when I was a kid. That's why it beats out National Lampoon for me, and that's Tim Allen in the Santa Claus. So they're my top 3.
Okay.
Classic cartoon, all funny ones and all nostalgic ones for me. What about you, Bones?
Love it.
Oh, well, that's a good one. So I'll go 3-1 like Chris did, and my 3 is his number 1. I got the Santa Claus. I actually just watched it last night. I was sitting here. I said, I ain't going to watch this dumb football game. I'll watch the Santa Claus. I watched that last night, and then I fell asleep to whatever the music thing was afterwards that was on. Number 2, Home Alone.
Classic.
Yeah, great movie. Watched that the other night. Actually, I watched Home Alone 2 the other night. And then number 1 is Christmas Vacation.
Got it.
That. Oh, man. I watch that probably at least 10 times during the holiday season. And Chris is right. Get a stiff drink, nice eggnog, sit there and crack up.
Classic.
With cousin.
All right, so here's my list. The way I considered my ranking was I'm not a slave to any Googling or IMDb rankings. I went strict, what are the 3 that pull me in that I feel like I'm watching the most? So I'm going to start off with number 3, Christmas Carol, but the Muppets version. That's my number 3. Number 2, this might be a little controversial, so I like to hear what the listeners have to say. I'm going How the Grinch Stole Christmas, Jim Carrey version. Love that movie. And then number 1, less controversial, I'm going to go chalk, Home Alone. Home Alone is one of the best movies I think ever made. Absolute American classic. Yeah, boys. So those are. I think we had a nice little bit of variety.
Home Alone, I would say I probably seen Home Alone more this holiday season, the last 5 holiday seasons, more than any other Christmas movie.
Yeah.
The younger generation really seems to love Home Alone.
Yes.
I barely remember considering it a Christmas movie. I mean, it definitely is a Christmas movie, but it was never in the discussion when I was like 6 to 14 years old. It wasn't. For me personally, it is a great movie, though. It's a great, great movie.
We got a commenter coming in here. Elf is the GOAT. Yeah, I mean, Elf, that's probably
that's a goodie.
That's a goodie. That's probably the most controversial aspect of all of our list. No Elf love. Elf is good. It's a good movie.
And
it's just not in the top 3.
Overrated.
No love for the Jim Carrey.
Christmas Story is overrated.
Christmas Story, I have over Elf and the other one, though, The Grinch.
I'm not a big Chevy Chase guy. So that's why I leave the Vacation out. Not a big Chevy Chase guy. It's a good movie. I'm not going to deny that. But that's why he didn't land in my top 3. Anything else you want to kind of touch on Christmas movie-wise?
No, besides John Candy's hilarious in the first Home Alone. And one of my favorite scenes, I would take it to the cartoon Grinch. And one of the more angelic scenes is when they're all singing the song around the tree. So I got the cartoon Grinch over the movie Grinch 10 out of 10 times.
All right.
And Bad Santa is also my kept out off the list.
Billy Bob, baby Billy Bob. By the way, I got my hot chocolate here. I don't know if you guys joined in on that. But so this is our holiday special, and we're getting close here. 2 days until Christmas, boys. But we got to take a hard turn here to some sad news, right? So R.I.P. Rickey Henderson. Rickey Henderson, Baseball Hall of Famer, has just passed away. 2024 was a rough year for the baseball legends.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to just tee it up, and then I'm going to let you guys talk on this. But Willie Mays, 2024 got him. Probably he's number one on my baseball list of all time, best player ever. Then they got the Hit King and Pete Rose, Phillies legend, and now the Steal King in Rickey Henderson. Bones, thoughts on Rickey?
I really didn't see him play much. Like he was
Right.
older when, like back in the 2000s, like he was like later part of his career. But just hearing the stories, everybody, including my favorite one is the Harold Reynolds one when he called him up. Rickey Henderson got hurt. I think it was in like May of the year or whatever, and Harold Reynolds and I think it was Willie Wilson were battling that last game of the season. Both had 59 steals. Willie Wilson went 0 for 5. Harold Reynolds got on base, got a steal, made it 60, and then goes home and he gets a call, and it's Rickey Henderson. He goes, "Reynolds, Henderson here." He goes, "You ought to be ashamed of yourself. Rickey had 60 by the All-Star break," and hung up the phone.
Yeah, his stolen bases records are just ridiculous.
Yeah, that's
it's like Tony Gwynn levels of like his baseball stats.
And we have a guy that replicated him, and Jimmy Rollins here. That was his favorite player growing up.
Yeah,
out in the Oakland, the Bay Area. So
good call there.
Hit home for him a little bit, I'm sure. So it's tough day. I think there was way more Hall of Famers that passed away this year besides the three named. But
they're the big three. I mean, that's a big three, right?
I'm telling you, it's got to be close to 10 that died this year.
Rough year, and we'll go back and revisit that. Slim, anything you want to add on Rickey? I know we just hit on a lot there.
No, I think, well, again, I was younger when Henderson was leaving his prime, but Henderson was a person who had longevity. So he was playing in the minor leagues, I think, when I was 12 to 14 years old.
25-year career.
Yeah, and I just remember SportsCenter still kind of covering what he was doing there. The second point is when he broke Lou Brock's record, the stolen base record. It's crazy that he got an interview. He broke the record, and then mid-game he gave an interview, right, at second base, saying he's now the greatest. I think that quote's a little misinterpreted. Everyone always says, "Oh, the greatest," but he really was saying he was the greatest base stealer of all time at that point. And besides that, that's kind of what I remember of Rickey Henderson. But now when I'm looking at it, I think he's the all-time run scorer. So if you're the guy,
he is.
So I believe Don Mattingly. I read a couple amazing quotes from a lot of his teammates, and Don Mattingly is like, he's the greatest player he played with because, let's put it frankly said, he scored runs. You couldn't pitch to him, and then if you walked him, you're pretty much putting a guy on second or third base, and then he's scoring runs, and we all know runs win baseball games. So, long live one of the greatest baseball players. His memory's certainly not going to die anytime soon, especially with his personality and all the stories that are going to be shared.
Amen to that. Richie Allen, about time in the Hall of Fame. Michael Przybishevsky, amen to that as well in the comments. Thank you for that. Guys, we alluded to this in the beginning of the show, and let's dive right in. Who was faster? Steve Costello in the comments here. Rickey Henderson or Roman Quinn? That's a really good question. Roman Quinn was fast. Nice little Roman Quinn. I did not expect a Roman Quinn shout-out today. Boys, as we mentioned at the beginning of the episode, Dave Dombrowski is in fact alive, right? So let's touch on what the Phillies most recently did. Let's start off with the trade. The Phillies acquired Marlins left-handing starting pitcher Jesus Luzardo for two big prospects, right? Let's go over here. Let's start off with the lesser of the two. We had a Marion Boyd, who is an outfielder, top 15 Phillies prospect, and then Starlin Cabah. shortstop. Both two single A guys, but both very high ranked guys. Slim, looking at you, thoughts on this acquisition?
I love the acquisition, and before I get into what it all means, because I do think there's some good and there's some bad there. Let's set the stage, right? We lose out on Crochet, and then me and you have. I'm like, oh, the Phillies can still win the offseason, yada yada yada.
Mm-hmm.
We don't get Soto. We were never really in the hunt. We don't get the White Sox pitcher. Now we're feeling down. It's looking like run it back. We get Kepler. Then another big news was we're hearing news that we weren't even in, that we got ghosted by the Japanese player Saki, right?
Sasaki.
Sasaki, and after that happened,
Saki.
I'm going to keep it moving. But long story short, getting Jesus Luzardo, I'm excited. My three big things we needed were outfielders, starting pitching, and relief pitching. We got one of each. They all have injury concerns. I'm not going to say we had the best rotation in baseball, right? I'm still a little bit. We're going to have to see, because we did get him cheap, trading Justice, our minor league shortstop. The big concern,
who was blocked, right? That's the big thing. He was blocked by combination of Miller and Trey Turner, so that was why we were able to take advantage of that. But yeah, keep it going. Just wanted to call that out.
And we're not sure if he can even hit, right? So that's always an issue. We're not going to have a shortstop who can't hit in 2025. Right. But long story short, not the random parade. The reason we got him, I feel like the Marlins got rid of him so cheap, is probably due to the back issues. When you talk about back issues, there's two things that you can live with. You can keep getting cortisone shot, which doesn't really help you. It just helps you get through the pain. And then the second thing is surgery, right? So we had Luzardo for 2 years. It's going to be someone who's going to be getting hurt, and we're just going to be feeding him cortisone shots, and then we can get rid of him in 2 years, let him hit the market, because we just used all his pain tolerance up. You might want to think about Chase Utley with his knee, something a little bit similar. Or is he going to be a guy who's going to see that and then get surgery on our dime and then be testing the market out in 2 years? We're going to see what happens. He was hurt last year, so he has to get some innings and some stats on the board. But back issues don't really resolve themselves, and they're the two outcomes that happens when you have back issues. So with that, he has all the talent in the world. His talent matched with our experience, I think, is a win-win.
Bones, thoughts on Luzardo and how this kind of, and we have a graphic on the screen here of kind of, by no means is this the predicted 1 through 5, but it could be actually.
Yeah, I think I like the move because one, I really wasn't in on Crochet like everybody else was. So I think we didn't give up as much for him as we would have for Crochet. And
good point.
Cabo was going to basically, like you said, block here anyway with Turner, Miller. So at least that's a piece, because now trading in the offseason, it's not going to be prospects aren't going to be highly valued as they are at the deadline, including and even the players like Luzardo. This could have been like a have to trade Miller or somebody if it's around the trade deadline. So right now in the offseason, you're getting a little less value. Plus he's coming off an injury. I think it was better value for the Phillies in this deal than it would have been for Crochet elsewhere. And this guy, I think that won't be the rotation that it will be. I think Nolan might go to the third spot so they can break up like the lefty-righty stuff there. So,
well, who would you put two then?
Sanchez.
Okay.
Just to break it up, and like Nolan, he's at the point in his career it's all about wins now. I don't think he really cares where he's pitching out of the rotation. As long as he's getting the ball every fifth day, it's all that matters.
Oh yeah, he's not going to have any issue at all.
And we already seen that in the playoffs where he went to the 3 role. So,
right. One thing I wanted to shout out about our boy here, Luzardo. So, first Peruvian-born Philly in how long? Can you name any other Peruvian-born Philadelphia Phillies? Trick question. No. He's the only Peruvian-born player in MLB history, which I thought was pretty crazy. All right, boys. Let's transition now to the outfielder signing that the Phillies made, Max Kepler. Don't call me Kapler because he's going to be getting a lot of Gabe Kapler mispronunciations. I already see that down the line. Here we have a graphic of this is from Fangraphs, and it has a projected depth chart. The percentages reflect the projected playing time for each guy. Dombrowski has since said that he sees Kepler as an everyday guy, so take that with a grain of salt. But Slim, how we feeling about the Kepler?
Yeah, I think the two big things is the question. All right, so we got the starting pitcher from Miami. Now it's like, are we settled? Are we done? Some people are saying that if we end up winning, if we want to win the World Series, get back to the World Series, it's going to be done with the guys that have been here. The only real addition had been Kepler. So that tells me that we're going to have to make a midseason addition like Bones was referring to. Hopefully, we know that sometimes you have to pay a premium when the midseason comes. But we're going to have to get an outfield at bat at some point, because here's the truth. We're going to see these stats. I already know they're coming. We got Kepler, we got Marsh, we got Rojas, we got Castellanos. We're going to be 29, 30, 28 when it comes to outfielding, hitting in the entire MLB. I can already see the streaks coming that are terrible for us. We're going to have to get production out there. Now let's take a look at Kepler himself. He's probably a better fielder than Castellanos, but now we're going
definitely a better fielder. Yeah,
right. So now we're going to move him to left field, to where I would keep him in right field, because, and I'll ask your opinion, I would think the stronger fielder should be in right field. But Castellanos has been Mr. Familiar there, so maybe keep that there. And that just, again, so besides Kepler being a stronger fielder and playing in a least prioritized spot, just slightly over in left field,
right.
I'm looking at Nicky Castellanos again, and it's always a clog with this dude. You know, whether it be in the order or if it be in...
I knew you were going to be all about that because it almost says, Bones, and I'm going to kick it over to you, but...
I don't get it. I'm not going to say it, but I just don't get it.
Yeah, so Kepler has never played left field in his MLB career. He played a little bit in the minors. Dombrowski pointed that out. But it is funny that Nicky C is kind of firm on staying in right field. Bones, I see you shaking your head over there. What do you got?
Yeah, this guy just down in the most consistent Philly from May 1st on last year.
Yep.
Just can't get over him. But J.K. is playing over in the Japanese league, and that's who he won it.
Hey, we'll get. There's going to be situations again. There's going to be situations again, contact situations where we're going to be hoping Castellanos gets a hit, because it's not what he does.
Well, that's this whole lineup.
Right,
but yeah. He was the most clutch Philly last year. He had the most walk-off hits on the team. Probably in baseball.
Bro,
guys, I
don't know what teams he had walk-off hits against. We can probably go through it. I'm sure a few of them were scrubby teams.
I think he had 7 last year. He was first in the big leagues.
Right. Last year he had we just faded out fast. We didn't win any games last year. So he had his high-pressure hits last year were honestly low pressure because we were getting our asses kicked.
All right, guys, so let's transition here. So we got a lot of great.
But I like the Kepler. Probably 6 years too late, but I'll take it. It's better. It's moving. It's something different. It's moving forward. They signed somebody. They weren't going in with Marsh and Rojas splitting time. We're both being in the same outfield at the same time. So that's good for me. It's better than last year.
Consistency.
Where's he fall on this list of free agent outfielders we signed? Harper, I give a 10 to. Nick Castellanos a 6. Worth was like about an 8. Hunter Pence a 5. McCutcheon, I'll give a 4 to. And then it's the guys that were bumps. Delman Young, I give a 2 to.
McCutcheon a 4? Damn.
Hunter Pence shouldn't be on that list because they traded for him.
Transactions. These we brought in.
And Marsh was a trade too.
And then there's guys like Saunders. And Marsh was a trade. But guys we brought in for outfield help. Add in.
What about Ben Revere?
Ben Revere. So hold on. Let's just put a little fork in that for a second. So, guys, the theme is bounce back, right? All 3 transactions, Jordan Romano, Max Kepler. I'm going to keep on. I say Kepler every single time I had it. That's going to kill me this year. And then Jesus Luzardo. All three, the theme is bounce back. They had injuries. So let's hope we hit on 3. Hell, I'll take it we hit on 2. But there's been a lot of great chat activity. So I want to call some of these out here. So Shawnee K said, yeah, I put Sanchez too. So Bones, he agrees with you on that. And then he says, same guy, Shawnee K says, what you think about Wilson starting? He's saying Weston Wilson. I'm assuming you mean left field. What do you guys think about that, Bones?
I mean, not every day, but I would like
Right.
to see him play a little more spot starts than he has, because when he did play, he hit well and he came up in some big situations. So I would like to see Weston Wilson more.
Okay. Yeah, he was a guy who took advantage of his at-bats for sure.
Yeah.
Slim, thoughts on that? Getting him a mixed role in there?
I mean, I like him, but I do think we're going to see predominantly it's going to be Kepler's spot to lose. They just paid him, $12 million or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So he's paid for 1 year to come in and be good this year. And again, it goes back to what I said previously. Yeah, I'm not sure where else do we get him at bats in if it's not in left field. Talking about Wilson.
It seems like I'm just kind of looking back at Austin Hayes and now Max Kepler. It seems like the Phillies take the approach, which I actually appreciate. They go with the definitive, he's our everyday guy, probably just to give the confidence in the batter since baseball is so mental. So I appreciate that. They did the same thing with Hayes. I was surprised. I was more surprised with Hayes than I am Kepler based off of just track record. But I'll go with that. Another good question here coming in from Seamus.
One other point is we do want to develop the bats to come off the bench to be able to get situational hits.
Mm-hmm.
That's been a big problem for us. Last year, I thought we were turning a tide a little bit and getting dudes like Wilson, like Cody Clemens more at bats during the season, but it really didn't make any kind of difference in the postseason. So I'm with you. I want these guys to get more at bats. I want to be comfortable putting them in when it's a chance to make contact over a guy who's maybe just swinging out of his shoes, who's on a terrible maybe streak. But it doesn't seem like we're going. That's a part of the run it back to where it seems like we're still there. I do know that the chase rate of Kepler is supposed to be nowhere near the other corner outfielder.
Okay, so Seamus just had a quick little comment here in the chat. Keep your eye on Marsh and prospects or Ranger and prospects, I'm assuming, to the White Sox for Luis Robert per sources. Interesting. I would, yeah. Well, I think we're going to have a mixed reaction on that. Slim, where do you stand on that proposal?
With Marsh, I would be fine because, Marsh kind of lost me last year. He started off hot, and that was basically it. And we've had him for a few years now with the Angels. His swing hasn't really developed as much as I wanted to under Kevin Long. With that said, I wouldn't trade Ranger. I'm in on keeping Ranger. Especially now that we have Luzardo, we now have we have a strength, right? Keeping all 5 of those guys. I think Ranger's value is more he's more valuable to us than elsewhere. And I like the idea of we got to be careful with Painter because once we get rid of Ranger, now we're opening up this 5th hole again. Us signing Luzardo means if we lost 1/3 of our 5th hole games in the second half last year, we're now going to win 2/3, right? Instead of winning 1/3, we'll probably now win 2/3. Get us from probably increase our win total. I mean, we were so hot last year, but our win total in Vegas right now is about 91. That makes me think we're going to be around 92, 93 instead of around maybe 89 to 90. Secondly, you got the bullpen thing going on. Can Ranger return to the bullpen? And this is strictly for postseason stuff. Can he return to the bullpen? Do we bring Painter up as like this phenom who we can do bullpen things with? Maybe he's pitching later. Maybe he's starting. Who knows? But it just gives us a lot of flexibility plus his strength. Now, if people start killing it, Marsh is hot, Ranger's hot, what kind of windows of opportunities that open? You always have to be ears for that in season. So, but for now, I would act like I'm holding on the Ranger.
All right, cool. Guys, let's get going over here to Slim's favorite segment. And we'll start off with Bones this week. Let's go in the kitchen. What do you got for us, Bones?
So Chris actually just touched on it with like Suarez. Unless the deal's right, I'd keep him.
Insurance policy for Luzardo, right?
Yeah, that and like he can be like that lone reliever we need because I think that's best. Like showed that's probably where he's best suited. Given he can't do a whole year pitching, so I think once Painter comes up, gets settled in, you'll see that like start transition to the bullpen. And if it doesn't happen, if they do trade Ranger, which is still a possibility because 3 lefties in a rotation is kind of tough to do.
Yeah.
So that's where maybe they'll go and sign somebody else for that if they trade Suarez, and then that's where like bringing back a Hoffman for that long relief situation would come in, and even though he's looking to be a starter now, I think it would be better in long relief just to give guys a break and it's less higher situations for them.
Okay, so you hit on how the most recent kind of acquisition of Luzardo impacts Ranger. I think we're all kind of on the same page with that. If a deal pops up, great. If not, we'd like to ride out this year with him because obviously we're in a win now window.
Yeah.
But what do you guys think it means for Estevez and Hoffman? So do you think that this increases the chances or decreases the chances of Hoffman? I think Estevez is gone.
Yeah, I think Estevez is done. Once we signed Romano, I think he was done because
right.
he can get a closer role. I don't know what Jeff Hoffman's looking for, but the last 2 postseasons he sucked. So they're not going to look for him for the back of the bullpen, like a setup role or a closer role. So he's more middle relief. I don't know how much he's like willing. He's wanting. I think it's maybe why he wants to go back to try a starter because he's not that high leverage situation guy that they try to use him in because he's not. Just doesn't have it. You have to have a different. It's a different
mentality.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hear that. Okay, so
but I would still try to sign him. I like Hoffman, just not in them high leverage situations. Like I said, like long relief, middle relief kind of guy.
Yeah, but right now, the way that the team is constructed, you would think he's going to be what, a 7th inning guy, 7th, 8th inning guy.
Yeah, 6, 7, yeah.
So I mean, still going to get he's
going
to be getting.
You got Kirkering, Strom, and you still Tanner Banks, right? For like the 8th inning, they can split that, and then
I hate to break it to you, if we bring back Hoffman, he's probably. He's definitely higher on the totem pole than any of the guys you just named. Like, there's no way that Kirkering's going to get later inning roles in it. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but
I think if they do it, Kirkering was like more. He was moved around a lot.
He was.
So I think if they give him like the setup role, like do this, this is your spot. Give him, like you said, give him to. So it's like in a sense, it's all about mental with pitchers.
Right, consistency too.
Yeah, just give him that role so he knows what his role is. He ain't got to worry about, if I could pitch good today, maybe I'll have a different role going forward. No, this is your role. This is what you got to do. Boom.
So while you mentioned that, so I was going to bring this up later. So we bring it now. Then Slim, we'll jump over to you for your in the kitchen topic. You mentioned bullpen consistency mentality. What do you think about Andrew Painter? There's a lot of buzz on this, and I had a guy ask me about this, one of our subscribers. Andrew Painter getting some bullpen looks as he transitions to the rotation eventually in the big leagues.
No.
I agree with that. Where are you at on that, Slim?
Not until we get to October. If it's something that we're like strategically thinking about. Or if we find ourselves in a wonky position.
That's a good point.
If we find ourselves in a wonky position with the wild card game, again, weird things happen. We saw the Mets and we saw the Braves play a doubleheader before they had to play a wild card game the next day. So when stuff like that happens, who knows? So
right.
Think about, but then also that's kind of why we have Ranger. Like you guys talk about Trevor Hoffman and these other people, we might. Who knows if what Ranger could look like. Maybe he has filled that role before. We don't got to worry about his feelings, right? Because he'll be gone next year, so we can, and he can't refuse to look bad, so we can maybe throw him back there. Again, I'm talking later, get like preparing for playoff type stuff, not regular season. Going back to what Bones with Hoffman, it seems like Hoffman's vision is himself as at least and not a starter, but he wants a multi-year deal. I don't know if the Phils want to do that kind of stuff. I like Estevez. I don't know. Like we said, we're bouncing. We're hoping on a Romero bounce back. He's not solidified as a closer. I would like to see. I would still like to see Estevez back. You guys feel like like he's out of the question. I feel like Hoffman's out of the question. So I don't know. It's interesting. And we hear
on Estevez. Yeah, Tanner Scott. That would be great. No, because Estevez. Steve Kaj just said in the chat, I'm fine with Estevez gone. Was way too shaky in most appearances in playoffs. And that meatball he threw to Lindor in the playoffs made most Olive Garden chefs blush. Yeah, that was one of the. I mean, it's not fair to compare that, obviously, because it wasn't the World Series to the Wild Things home run. But that was my kind of all-time low playoff moment, because it was like, all you got to do is not let up a grand slam here, man. It's all you got to do. And then he did.
When there's nobody on base, that again, that's my issue with Topper. Is sometimes in these situational spots we put dudes in situations they don't like to be in.
All right, Slim. I know you want to cook. I got your graphic lined up here. Go ahead, man. What do you got for us? Christmas cooking with Slim.
Yes. Going through the interwebs, I came across this holiday season the top 25 teams who did not win the World Series going back to 2000. So that's over 24 seasons, right? Or less than that's 24 seasons, 25 teams. None of these teams, as you can see on the graph, are the 2010 or 2011 Philadelphia Phillies. In my opinion, it's not even a disgrace that they're not on this list, but they should probably be somewhere in the top 5, maybe the top 3. When I look at it, the reason I got the Phillies so high is for a simple reason. They had the most wins in Major League Baseball back-to-back seasons. That's hard to do. That you guys know they had the talent with Roy Halladay, Cliff Lee, Cole Hamels, Roy Oswalt. The WAR was unreal at that time. But now let's take a look at the teams, and I'm going to go through the top 10.
Is this fielding WAR?
No, so so this is measured by, again, just so our listeners see this, it's measured by FWAR.
Yeah, what the hell is that for?
Fangraph WAR, wins above replacement. They do the average of all the positional players and pitchers, their WAR, and then they give you the WAR. Fangraph does their own WAR, and there's other ones that do their own WAR. So this
I think WAR is a stupid stat, but
this kind of shows it. This I don't think it's stupid, but I do think we're seeing a weakness here when the Phillies aren't included. So just take a real quick look. The Astros in 2019, they had the cheating scandal. 2020, they were a sub-500 team. The Mariners in 2001, all right, that was a great team, but again, after that, they stunk. The Dodgers in 2022, they're notoriously chokers, right? And we know every month we know all about the year 2022. This list also in the bottom end has the 2022 Mets and the 2022 Braves. So I know it's a small sample size of 25 years, but the recency bias there, and we were better than both those teams, or at least our outcome was better. And then there was one that had me cracking up. If you look down, let me where are we at?
Right.
The 2019 Twins. Here's one that's going to hopefully be good for us. One of the crucial players in that 2019 Twin teams was our player Max Kepler. So I mean, there's no way a team in the 2019 Twins. I know they had Correa. They had some good players.
Correa wasn't on the Twins then.
He wasn't? Well, whatever. I don't even know who's on the Twins, but for my quick research, Max Kepler was on the Twins in 2019. So I don't think that 2019 Twins team would have been better than the 2010, 2011 Phillies. My top 4 teams who did not win a World Series, I'll do the 2011 Phillies. I'll do the 2003 Red Sox when they lost to Aaron Boone. I'll do the 2022 Dodgers, and then I will do the 2018 Astros. Those would be my picks.
All right, so just to recap here. So this list here is the top 25 teams in the last 25 years.
Yeah, these are since 2000.
Oh, since
So
2000. Okay, and it's measured by F-WAR. So that's one thing you got to call out here, right? Because there is not any subjective nature to this. It's just purely ranked off of F-WAR, right? And the reason the Phillies aren't in there, most likely, is obviously we had that 10-year drought of not great baseball, so that's a huge chunk. And then the first half of the 2000s, we weren't great. And then obviously WAR is the big – what?
This is individual season.
Yeah, so each year. So from 2000 to 2005, right? We're not going to be top. And then as we start getting better, and then from 2012 to 2021, we weren't great.
Well, what
and
you
then
talking about the teams that were good.
Right.
We won the NL East 5 years in a row from 2008 to 2000.
And let me get to my final point here. So the year we won the World Series, I think we won less than 90 games. So in 2008, we weren't like the best team record-wise. And then defense is a huge factor in WAR. So our recent teams have not been great on defense overall, like league-wise. Again, those are just my initial thoughts on kind of breaking down why I don't see a Phillies team.
Yeah, no. What you would see, the reason you don't see the 2010 team there, is you're talking about a little bit older Ryan Howard, and his WAR is not that high. It's basically like even. But besides that, Pasi Polanco was super high the year we acquired him. When he returned, our pitching WAR was astronomically high.
Yeah.
But I think it's a real burden to the Fangraph WAR not to have the 2010 or 2011 team. Especially we're talking about two teams back-to-back years. They had the most wins in baseball.
But I keep on going back to, is this literally them ranking what are they just putting into the computer? What are the top 25 F-WAR teams, or are they using a subjective measure? Because if they're not, then you get what I'm saying, right? Like if they literally
they're just filtering the top 25.
Yeah.
So that now tells you that there's an issue with that stat when a team that had the best record in baseball doesn't make, and really this is only a 24 season sample size, or let's say it's 25 season sample size. A team that had the best record doesn't make it, and especially when there's teams like the 2022 Mets, the 2022 Braves, which we ended up outperforming in that season alone. And then this is a whole different team. There's a whole different Phillies team.
You got to do like a research report on this and come out with like why you think the flaws are. I like this. All right, boys, let's transition to, we got a couple subscriber questions I want to shout out here, and then we'll get to our closing segment. Let me fill up some here. So we got the subscriber questions. Let's do a little transition. Here we go. All right, cool. So first one is very simple, and it's kind of in holiday spirit, and this is from subscriber Josh Ortiz. So shout out to you, Josh. Very simple one. Looking at you, Bones. Which Phillies player are you most thankful for? Get that holiday cheer going.
Which Phillies player am I most thankful for? Well, Zach Wheeler.
Ooh, you stole mine.
What a signing he was, and then the extension. Definitely not the player. Or we knew he was a good pitcher, but he's like pitching way above expectations here, and that's why he got the extra 3-year deal.
Yeah.
And just hope to see that ride out. I don't want to see him going out on like bad terms with like just having a rough year, like ending to his career. So definitely Zach Wheeler.
What about you, Slim?
I agree, Zach Wheeler. He has exceeded expectations. I used to think he was a little bit soft, the blister injuries, that kind of stuff, the arm fatigue stuff. The last 3 years, he has been just making me eat crow every time he goes out there. He's phenomenal.
Yeah, some shows might make up a second one, a third. We keep it real. Zach Wheeler was mine as well. If that was what you guys had, I'm going to say that. Yeah, I mean, from like a value standpoint, right? He's the best value signing in Phillies history. He's getting a lot of love right now based on who's the best like example pitcher for a young guy looking to watch a pitcher, right? Because he doesn't overthrow. He can throw 100 miles an hour. There's no doubt about it. If Zach Wheeler really cocks it back and he's loose, he can hit 100, but he doesn't need to do that, right? Because he's a pitcher. He doesn't need to be a thrower. So from a value standpoint, Zach Wheeler has been phenomenal for the Phillies. I'm very thankful for that. All right, boys, this has been a really fun holiday special. Let's close it down here with On This Day in Phillies History.
This day in Phillies history, 1997, Phillies traded Mickey Morandini to the Chicago Cubs for none other than Penn alumnus Doug Glanville.
Oh.
2002, they signed former Philly great Amari Telemaco.
Wow.
And then
those are great names to say on the loudspeaker.
2007, a big part, not like a big role bench guy that they signed, So Taguchi in 2007. Yeah. He played a big role in that the first NL East title in 2007 of that 5 in a row. And then born on this date, 1976.
Wow.
Brad Lidge turns 48. 48 for 48.
Happy birthday, Brad Lidge.
Happy birthday, Brad Lidge. Saw him in a Chipotle one time. He's a huge guy.
Had a linebacker number, too, 54.
He did have a linebacker number. All right. Guys, this was a really fun one. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, whatever you celebrate, enjoy it. If you don't celebrate anything, hopefully you're just not working and you can enjoy that too. We will see you next week.
Festivus for the rest of us.
Festivus. Oh, yeah. Happy Festivus for the rest of us. All right, boys. See you next week.